Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today, I'm in the studio, and calling in from Baltimore is Dr. Tom Ingegno, who is the CEO, founder. I actually didn't clarify that, Dr. Tom.
I don't, we really don't have a whole bunch of rank and file. I just go by owner a lot of times.
All right. So Dr. Tom, the owner of Charm City Integrative Health. And so today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship as always, but we're also going to approach it too from a standpoint of the future of medicine, because you've been working in this field for a number of years now, and you have a slightly different approach than maybe traditional medicine providers do. And so this is going to be a really interesting show. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Okay, so let's get into it. Right off the hop here, what are three things that you think every entrepreneur needs to know?
Okay. So first, I would say know your level of risk, your tolerable level of risk. This current practice, thank God it worked out. But there were nights where you have that tightness in the chest, going, "How the hell are we going to get through this?"
Yeah,
and I think for entrepreneurs, that risk tolerance might be a little bit higher than, say, the average person.
Yeah, agreed.
Number two, get your ideas on paper. The biggest problems I've had have been because I had an idea in my head. I could articulate that to you, but every time I told it, it's like that game telephone, right? It changes a little. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, wait, hold on. We need to add this in. And that really makes it more concrete. So those abstract ideas that you have for the business and how things are going to function, really, if they're in front of you on paper, this is the game plan. You're more likely to stick to that. And I think you'll have more consistency.
Yeah, write it down, right? Otherwise, it's really hard to actually put it into practice oftentimes. When you're ideating, though, do you use like an app or anything like that to keep track of like some of the ideas that?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Evernote. I have about 14 or 15 notebooks in there, and it might be little ideas for little tweaks within the clinic, or it might be like, hey, here's a list of products I would love to develop down the road or something, because that's the other thing, right? People have dream journals, right? They'll wake up in the middle of the night and write down their dreams so they remember them. But when you're doing 10,000 things in a day as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you might have that, oh, that's a really good idea. And the next thing you know, you're putting out a fire somewhere else, right? So you immediately forget it.
And it's really interesting because so I use we're a Google workplaces company, and so I use Google Keep for jotting down all of my little notes and stuff. And it's absolutely fascinating over the years. Like I'll go back into some of these old notes that I've jotted down, these journals, and there's like things that I completely forgot about, and I'm like reading it, going, wow, that was a great idea. I wish I would have implemented that 4 years ago or something, right? So the other tip I think it mixed in there is like, go back to them and reread them and that, because it's really powerful, some of the things that you can actually come out of those exercises. So yeah, really cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, number three.
Oh God, I thought we were going to skip it. All right, number three, I would say don't get so stuck on the little things.
I'm
in my office almost as much as I'm at my house, which is a little sad. But that being said, I notice every little chip in the paint. I notice like the picture being crooked. I'm like, oh, that light bulb is not the same color as that one. And those things, those are going to drag you down, right? If you start getting so hung up on the minutia, you forget that, like, oh wait, we're having a record month. There's a thing to celebrate over here. My little anxiety machine inside my monkey brain is telling me, oh my God, we got to freak out about all this tiny stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's that, what does that adage say about seeing the forest through the trees, or the trees.
Yeah, you can't see the forest through the trees.
Yeah. Right. Like it's about having a different perspective on things as opposed to getting really stuck into that. The like you said, the minutia.
And this is all advice I need to take for myself too, right? You know, you're a lot of times you're giving yourself the advice. Like, I need to do that more.
Yeah, completely. Exactly. So now tell me a little bit about your business then. So you're the owner of Charm City Integrative Health. What is it that you guys do? What problems are you trying to solve over there?
So, it's funny. Acupuncture and East Asian medicine as a whole has always been more of a lifestyle than an individual practice, right? So in the United States, we're all licensed acupuncturists, but acupuncture is one piece of this giant thing that includes herbs, it includes this exercise, manual therapy like massage, cupping, Chinese herbal medicine, qigong, tai chi, these breathing and longevity exercises, meditation, and then there's like all these little tiny things within that. But the idea is not just to like, how do we fix somebody who's suffering with this? That's a bad term. Western doctors don't do that either, right? You either heal or you don't. You recover or you don't. And sometimes you recover and you're still not at 100%. But within that, how do you live a lifestyle that is the most robust? How do you have the most health at the moment you're at, right? If you have an accident, you lose a limb, well, we're not at the stage where you're going to grow that back. That doesn't mean you can't live to your full potential without that limb. So that's what was behind the impetus. Like, how do we help people live those lives? In my previous incarnations, in the previous versions of my offices, it was pretty much a straight acupuncture clinic, right? I'm just doing acupuncture. I had some people renting from me in related fields that it made sense. But as I got deeper and deeper into practice and treating more and more, I realized a couple of things. If my mission is to help as many people as possible, I can't be the only one doing all the work. Right? I can see X number of patients a month, and every 10 years, I want to take a few more patients off that list just to have the mental health and be able to live my life too. So we started to think of how acupuncture works in the bigger picture, right? From a Western standpoint. And we picked services that have similar effects to acupuncture. They all play nice together, and we can get a synergistic effect. So I know that if I put certain services together, given the symptoms that you're telling me, we can have a bigger impact on your life.
And so what's an example of those different types of services then that you?
Oh, yeah. So we if somebody's coming in, let's say for allergies or sinus congestion, Maryland is notorious for like one of the best or the worst air quality in the Mid-Atlantic. And we'll come in and we know we can do acupuncture. We might combine that with some cupping on the upper back in these areas that open up the airways, the sinuses. We can put you in our salt therapy machine. So this is not a float tank. This is dry salt air that you're breathing in. It's like being at the beach for 8 hours in just a couple of hours. So that salt is going to dry out the mucous membranes, help calm the irritation, reduce that inflammation, and help you breathe better. And that's just one example. So if we know that somebody's, chronic fatigue, okay, well, acupuncture can be in that mix. We know that if we get your cells more oxygen and we stimulate those mitochondria, right? Seventh grade biology, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We know if we can get those mitochondria working better, you'll have more cellular energy, which translates into whole body energy. So something like that might look like, all right, we're going to do acupuncture. We're going to give you exercise with oxygen therapy, which is you ride on a bike and you breathe out of an oxygen mask and you saturate your body with oxygen. And then we'll put you on a red light therapy table. And that's going to activate those cells to take up that oxygen and make more energy.
Yeah, really interesting. And so that's the integrative part that you're talking about then in the title of your company or the name of your company, right? Is just how you integrate all these different types of disciplines or practices all with the same goal of treating whatever it is that is ailing somebody. So is that somewhat unique to be that integrated, or is this something that you've been inspired by other people?
So, we like everybody else, if you're in the certain industry, you're going to look at the trends in that industry, right? And I was looking at the trends not only in the wellness area, not only in East Asian medicine, wellness, longevity, biohacking is a term that you're hearing a ton now, which I'm starting to back away from a little bit. But these therapies, a lot of them have been around for so long. Salt therapy is not new. People used to sit in salt caves thousands of years ago to help with respiratory health. So this kind of reemerging of therapies that have both evidence-based, there's a good knowledge base, there's a good amount of studies on them. And the way we combine them, I think, is kind of like the special sauce, if you will. We call it stacking, right? These health stacks. How are they combined in an intelligent way to give you the best experience, the most results with the least amount of effort? And that, I think, is the driving force. We're seeing clinics, or should I say, if you want to buy a franchise, there's 4 or 5 you can buy that are similar to ours, but I think they're missing that the therapist, the healthcare practitioner driving that. It's more, I want to come in and try cryotherapy. Okay, well, cryotherapy is great on its own. Not going to say that. You can do that at our clinic. But what we want you there is understanding that this is a piece of your health puzzle and how to put that together.
I really like the term, the health stack or treatment stack, because, we hear that all the time with people in the tech industry, right? Talking about your tech stack. What do you have in your business that's helping you run your business from a technology standpoint? And there isn't just one piece of software that we all use anymore. There's all these different pieces of software that all together help you really, run your business. And so there's the accounting piece, there's the marketing piece, there's the, the communications piece, the storage data piece, and all that, right? And so it's very similar. If you just looked at anything as just a singularity, you're going to get some benefit, but not the full benefit. So I love how you're integrating so many more things into that health stack. It just makes a lot of sense to me. And I love the fact that you're, doing all these alternative things that are actually based in historical, results and that, because this is one of the things that we think that there's always a magic pill, or we're searching for that magic pill to cure all things. Again, it's not integrated at all. It's a single thing. And maybe it alleviates certain things, but it's not necessarily going to get you where you want to be long term anyway. Yeah, really cool. So now in terms of your business then, you've talked about the clinic. Do you have multiple clinics? Is it one clinic? Are you franchising? We are exploring a second location with a slight twist on what we're doing here. Given the amount of space we have, you can't start jamming in more toys. So we're looking at a second place that'll have a slight different twist, and that'll be a little bit more on the mental, psychological side. But long-term goals are to possibly franchise or have several of these, all kind of incorporating these health stacks and being able to operate, around our area to start. We want to have, Charm City is a moniker for Baltimore. So if I start opening them up in like New York, I don't know how well that'll be received. But while we're here, we want to stick with this name. We really like our brand. Really cool. And then, there's the side projects too. Yeah. Well, you mentioned before we hit the record button that you have a couple of books that are in the works. Which is just that blows my mind, because I've often thought about the idea of writing a book, which I want to do at some point, to have 2 in the works simultaneously, and running the business and trying to grow the business and thinking about all these other different ways of integrating new and alternative types of medicine into your business too. Like, it's just so much going on. I don't know how the heck you're finding time to do it all.
For me, it's all one thing. They're different extensions of the same source, right? So if my mission is to help as many people as possible, you're up in Canada. Unless you end up in Baltimore one day, how am I going to help you? So if I have books that are sharing some of the knowledge, some of the thought process that went into the development of the center, or things that I'm like, yeah, this is something anybody can do at home, to be able to share that in a way. And let me tell you, both of these books were due out like 2 years ago. So it's,
but don't heap on too many accolades at this point. Then
COVID, I told too many people about them. I can't back out now. I got to get them done. Yeah. But, COVID was this dual edged thing where, I found myself with a bit more time on my hands. So I started a bunch of things. And on the other side of it, and like I would rather not have had COVID, as a thing globally. But when we reopened, there was this sudden, I need to take care of myself that I think happened, around the world. Right. So not only do I need to go, get my vaccines and wear my mask, all that stuff, but how do I keep myself up and running? And to tell you the truth, we were, our state was under a mandate where we had to have any non-urgent care matter. Any healthcare practitioner could not be working except life or death situations, emergency rooms. This is a surgical ward, those kind of things. Yes, they stayed open. So during that time, that's when we saw all the healthcare practitioners getting burnt out. When we reopened, my clinic was full of MDs, physician's assistants, nurses, nurse practitioners, and they got it. They understood, hey, this guy doesn't talk like us. He doesn't move like us, but we feel better. He's talking based in, here's studies you can find on PubMed. They're legitimate. And we love that. And I think that helped just blow our clinic up. It was great.
Yeah, I love that kind of the MDs, the modern medicine, providers coming to you as an alternative and really understanding and recognizing the value of that. That's really cool. So in terms of like COVID, then as things were reopening at different stages and so on, it sounds like your business really grew. How were you able to, as a business owner, to accommodate that, like you said, in one physical space, with all of these different types of treatments that you can do within it? It's kind of, I would imagine there's limitations there. So there are, certainly different services have different time allotments, right? So our cryotherapy, if we ever get a day where that cryotherapy is completely booked, it's a 3-minute procedure, right? So give you a buffer. Let's say it's 10 minutes. So let's say we're open for 8 hours. You have plenty of appointments. Yeah. We're open 6 days a week. And that one's a rapid in and out. People really love it. Other services are 20 minutes. Other services are half hours. I've gotten to the point, knock on wood, where I've had to bring on 2 acupuncture associates. And they've been picking up more and more time to accommodate. And we have 3 licensed massage therapists on staff. And, I'll watch where their schedule gets full and they'll go, okay, I'll stay another hour. Hour. So we had the space to grow, which when you first open and you're sitting there and going, wow, this is a huge space and there isn't anybody in it. That's a little scary. But when you're on this side of it and you're like, oh no, we're comfortable. We're not too busy right now. People can come in, they can ask their questions. We can really listen to them and take care of them. And if we need to scale more, that's the second office, or that is all right, great. We're bringing in 3 or 4 more techs. Whatever needs to be done, we'll adjust as it needs to happen. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think is going to be some of the biggest challenges you're going to have to the growth plans that you have in front of you right now?
It is, for me, it's not getting too starry-eyed, right? And what I mean is, like, we're having a record year. And that is in patient care. That is in, number of visits. It's a lot more metrics than just the bottom line, which is very nice, right? You're seeing a lot more, people are giving us 5-star reviews on Google without us asking. I love that. So it is how to look at, like, here's a good spell, right? Because businesses always fluctuate. There's going to be things that come up where, hey, we're getting near Christmas and it always slows down. Why? Because people don't have extra money to spend on themselves. They're buying other people's stuff. So those are my concerns. That's what I'm looking at. And hopefully what we can do is we can scale at a rate that gives us room without choking us out, right? We don't get too big for our own good too quickly.
Yeah. It's all about that measured growth, right? And that's one of the biggest challenges I think most businesses face. I say that probably because it's the biggest challenge that I'm facing personally right now in our business, because we've been growing quite rapidly over the last 16 months or so. And so that has been tricky to manage from a cash flow standpoint, from just a human resource, capital standpoint, from the culture piece of, when you're adding so many more new bodies into the organization, it really starts to change the culture, the processes, like the HR policies. All of a sudden, when you get to a certain size, you realize, holy crap, I need some certain things that I never had the need for before, or that, maybe they should have been there before, but it wasn't devastating for the business when they weren't. Now those little cracks can turn into some major issues. Are you bumping into that too? And if so, how are you overcoming some of those challenges?
We knock on wood again. We have not found anything that has been that severe. We have had some services that we've added to our group that, okay, now I got a practitioner in that's specifically doing this. And either the demand wasn't there, or maybe they weren't the right practitioner. And, they might've been lovely, but for our business, it was like, you're not doing what the rest of us are doing. So those, the finding the right team is always a big deal, because I tell everybody that comes in, especially our techs, because they run all our therapies, they book our appointments, they're the ones answering the calls. It's more about their personality than anything else. As long as you're reasonably, nice and friendly, I can teach you to do this job, but you have to be able to interact with people on a human level. On some level, regardless of what is going on in my clinic, it's a customer service business. I need to make you feel better by being around me, let alone what I'm doing to you, right? Sometimes you get somebody that, like, oh my God, your resume, you don't want to work here, and it's like you meet them and you're like, they're so overqualified, and then it's like they don't connect with people. And for me, I think that if you're asking what a limiting thing is, it's finding that right person that has that right train of thought, that gets what we're throwing down and can say it in their own words, right? I don't want a bunch of parrots. Like if somebody asks, or my office manager how cryotherapy works or how it makes them feel, I don't want them to repeat exactly what I said. I don't want them to lie, but I want them to have an understanding of it for themselves, that they can then relate on a human level to another person.
Yeah. Relatability is just massive when it comes to this kind of thing, right? Yeah. So I'm curious, because you talk about, you're on this mission to help as many people as you possibly can with their health. So that's a very lofty mission or goal. Yeah. Where do you find your inspiration? Is it through other people? Is it through other things? Like where do you, or how do you get inspired, I guess? So
first of all, I wouldn't be here without, I'm going to get a little teary probably. I wouldn't be here without my mentor. He unfortunately passed away during COVID. He got it pretty bad before the vaccines were available. The first day he was feeling good enough, he went to his home gym and worked out and threw a bunch of blood clots and had a massive heart attack. He was one of the most true people I know. And that's like, a man of his word. He was always stressing that, like, if you're going to do this medicine, you got to walk the walk. You can't, like, clearly I'm practicing East Asian medicine. I'm Italian from Long Island. I don't fit the stereotypical version of that. So I know I'm borrowing this. I need to be gentle with it. I need to treat it the right way. And then when I combine it with other things, and certainly this is something East Asian medicine has done all along. They have American herbs. They have Middle Eastern herbs. They do cupping, which is not originally from China. So it can be done, but can I do it in a truthful, virtuous way that reflects the source of everything that's coming from there? And without his guidance for 19 something years, I don't think I would have had the fortitude to make it here. So, like, getting a mentor that you vibe with, that you can look up to, that when you're banging your head against the wall and ready to quit, you call them, and within a couple of minutes, they've given you that, if not even just the sagely advice, just that minute to, like, vent and go, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. My mentor was huge, and an inspiration where it's, he said, he joked years before he passed, I want on my tombstone, all used up. Like, he didn't want to leave anything. So I think if there's some inspiration, if there's some drive, it was hammered into me by him.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so, understanding the importance of mentorship.
Yeah.
Do you have other mentors as well? People?
A little of both. 21 years as a licensed acupuncturist. I don't know if this is good or bad, but I've inspired 5 different people to become acupuncturists. I'm not sure if they're going like, I don't think he knows what he's doing, or they're like, wow, this is really amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's probably the latter.
I hope so. In fact, I mentioned my office manager. I'm going to give her a shout out if she ever listens to this. We call her Hank. Her name's Hannah. She made me teary one day. I was having a great week. 2 of my office staff were leaving, and they were both going on to do bigger and better things. And it made my heart happy. You hate losing somebody good. You're happy when you hear they're just going to go out there and crush it. And then the third day, Hank, my office manager, looks at me and goes, "Hey, Tom, I think I know what I want to do. I want to go to acupuncture school." And I dropped a little tear, and it was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I hope I was a little bit of the inspiration for that, Yeah,
that's cool. So I mean, it sounds like you have a really great culture there that you've curated. Yeah. What are the secrets to creating an amazing culture?
Yeah, and this is funny because I don't think of any of this as secret. Everybody that lays on my table, like, most of them are employed by someone, right? And I hear the nonsense that they go through, and it's like, well, who would want to do that? Like, as a boss, I don't want to have that meeting. As a boss, I don't want to micromanage you. That just sounds like it almost feels like most of these big corporations, where they're getting it wrong, is they're really grinding the person. Like, clearly you have the interviews, you saw their resume, you've worked with them, you know what they can do. Let them do that. I feel like, and the other thing is, like, while it's my business, I want everyone to feel like they have a voice there. Look, if I'm doing something stupid, please stop me. like if you're like, hey, that thing's on fire and you're about to rush into it, let me know. And if you have a great idea, I want to give you credit for it. Yeah. We've made some changes at the office that weren't like, it wasn't something I thought about. It's like, hey, Tom, you know what would be great? You know what? That's right. That would be great. How do we do that? Yeah. And then when we figure it out, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah. Love it. So I'm curious if you could go back in time.
Yeah.
To your younger self, or send a letter back to you. So it's almost 7 years that you've been running this business. So almost 7 years ago, you could deliver a letter to your younger entrepreneurial self, what would be in that letter?
Oh God, man. I think I would have to tell myself first and foremost, keep breathing, because there's so many little things. Like even I remember the construction, right? And look, it's not the contractor's fault that this isn't here and that permit's not here yet, and that isn't. And you're just like, I gotta get open. I gotta make. I borrowed all this money. We have to do this thing.
Yeah.
And you get into that fight or flight mode pretty quick, right? And if you slow down and you breathe and you go, no, here's how we get through this. It's not the emotional response, like that's going to save your life, right? You have the emotional response, but realize that's just what it is. It's an emotional response. I've been getting some cognitive behavioral therapy, if you can't tell. But pull back. Look at the situation for what it is. Understand that emotion is just an emotion, and then see the best. Do your best to fix that situation. There's a lot of times where I was stuck in that fight or flight mode, and the mistakes I've made were because I was frozen, or I fled. And the times I actually said, all right, no, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to deal with this. That's not every time is it 100% fixed, or is it to everyone's liking, but you have something functional that can work, and then you can heal that. That's a big one.
So I'm also I jotted down something here as you were talking, because nice little follow up. It's just when you're talking about, like breathing and just like things are going to be okay, we can get through this, and not having that anxiety around things. One thing that I jotted down is what is it that you right now or currently recently are losing sleep over? What stresses you out today in your business? That is your business journey.
I'm just starting to sleep after 7 years. But how do we continue to grow? Right. Well, I've got a good model. It is working, but I don't have a crystal ball, right? I'm trying to make the best educated decisions on what I see coming down the pipe. Oh my God, I almost quoted a 1980s Adam Ant. Well, now I got to do it. You never hear the shot that gets you, right? So it is like, what is that thing that I don't see? And more than likely, it's not going to be a quote unquote competitor, right? It's not like, some of my friends that are business consultants will say, hey, it wasn't the fact that, Netflix decided to start shipping DVDs, and it was the fact that Blockbuster didn't change their model, right? It was you didn't adjust to the current situation, and maybe Netflix provides a better service, but like, look, there's Pepsi and Coke and 15 other soft drinks out there. It's not like they can't all exist. It's that those ones that get stuck in the tar and don't change with time. So am I able to adapt and change? And that would be the scary part for me. How stuck in my own ways am I?
Yeah. And that's interesting, because so this is one of the things that I see about the entrepreneurs who I get the opportunity to interview. Most of them have a tolerance for the risk, but also tolerance for change. And kind of tinkering with the business, and it's not something that really scares them too much. And it sounds like you're of a similar build in the sense where it's like, I recognize I need to be watching and seeing how can I continue to evolve this. I can't just be static, right? So another follow-up question to that then is how do you, manage that? How, are you really intentional about the way that you do that? Are you time to reflect on what,
It's so first of all, let me give one health tip. Everybody on the planet should be meditating. I don't care if it's 2 minutes a day, because that's going to reset your autonomic nervous system. You're going to do better there. But, I'll say I talk things through, even if it's with myself, quite a bit. Like I mentioned, I'm in my little tiny office in the basement of my townhouse. I'll come down here every morning to meditate. And then it's like, okay, what does today look like? What is the next goal that I need to check off? But what are the things that I'm looking at down the road? Well, 2 days ago, I went to the office and I said, all right, sat down with the office manager. I said, look, we've been talking about the next center. Here's my notes on it. Here's services that I think not too many people know about, but it is not like, that's the other thing. Like first is great, but first takes a lot more education to get people to adopt. Which is some of the things I was doing. I was pretty early on, and there was a big education curve there. What's here and now, and what is easy to translate to somebody who doesn't have a degree in healthcare. That that we get. So we started jotting down. Here's the services. Which of these have you heard of? Which of these sound cool? Which of these sound like it would be that hurdle to get over? So that's kind of how I'm trying to figure out where I need to change and how to deal with things that are coming down the pipe.
Yeah, love it. So just to wrap things up here, I think it would be really interesting to ask you, because I'd imagine you have a fair number of entrepreneurs that come through the door, in addition to the rest of your staff or the rest of your client base, right? So what do you see that is a common thing that you advise them to do that maybe is a little bit different than other people? Because there's a different level or different kind of stress, I think, that we go through as entrepreneurs. So do you see things like commonality there amongst that group of clients versus others?
There is. I almost would say that like there's a character type to all of us, right? There's a little bit of ADHD. There is like this dual. Oh my God, everything needs to be done now, as well as I can't even look at that today. All of that exists in this weird microcosm of like one person. But there is that. The biggest thing is like, if you're feeling like you need to do it, you just got to jump. Don't go crazy. Take a look before you jump. Don't fall right off a cliff. But like if you're going, look, I want to leave my job. I really want to do this. I'm really passionate about it. Make sure you got a parachute, figure all that stuff out, read a few books, and then go.
Yeah, get a mentor, right?
Get a mentor, Talk to people who've done it before.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay, so John, how can people find out more about Charm City and some of the other things that you've got going on?
Yeah, sure.
So you have a book you said that you've already published, and a couple coming out.
So that one's available on Amazon.
Yeah,
but notice my background here. Like now I got to do it in reverse. So that's my profile page. That'll connect you to all our social media, my website. But Charm City Integrative TIVE.com is my website. That'll link to all my stuff. If you search my last name, you'll find either me or my father on the internet.
There's only two.
There's only two of us now with that name. You'll see some of the articles I've been quoted in, some of the stuff I've written.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks a lot for being the guest today. I really appreciated the conversation and the way that you're doing things down there. I think it's just really good from, just overall trying to help all of us, right? Humanity, navigate through the health. It's such a big, big topic, especially coming out of the pandemic and stuff. And so good on you for all the good work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. I love doing this stuff. This was so much fun, man.
Excellent. And for those of you who enjoyed this episode, if you want to check out the archives, other episodes, you can head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. That's where you're going to find us. And if you're watching this right now and prefer an audiobook version or an audio version so that you can be out and about and doing all the, like Tom said, the 10,000 things that are on our task list as entrepreneurs every day, just search for Amplify Your Business on your favorite podcasting platform. Until next time, everybody have a prosperous day.